We're going on a walk.
Dear Esther, the gulls do not land here anymore. I've noticed that this year they seem to shun the place. Maybe it's the depletion of the fishing stock driving them away. Perhaps it's me. When he first landed here, Donnelly wrote that the herds were sickly and their shepherds the lowest of the miserable classes that populate these Hebridean islands. 300 years later, even they have departed.
I'm not walking without feet. Oh, I guess I can't swim. What's happening?
Come back.
Okay, stay away from the water. Hello. Spooky. Can sweetness and honesty find happiness through any yogurt? What's this? I'm a baby, I don't know this face. I know what this is. Who spilled all the paint? Choices. Up or down. Up or down. Down is easy for my little baby feet. Where are we anyway?
When you were born, your mother told me, a hush fell over the delivery room. A great red birthmark covered the left side of your face. No one knew what to say, so you cried to fill the vacuum. I always admired you for that you cried to fill whatever vacuum you found. I began to manufacture vacuums just to enable you to deploy your talent. The birthmark faded by the time you were 6 and had gone completely by the time we met, but your fascination with the empty and its cure remained.
We are here. What does this mean? Ominous. I hope I'm going the right way.
I found myself to be as featureless as this ocean, as shallow and unoccupied as this bay, a listless wreck without identification. My rocks are these bones, and a careful fence to keep the precipice at bay. Shot through me caves, my forehead a mount. This aerial will transmit into me so. All overexposed, the nervous system, where Donnelly's boots and yours and mine still trample. I will carry a torch for you. I will leave it at the foot of my headstone. You will need it for the tunnels that carry me under.
Oh man, it's a dead end. Who just throws the car parts away? Yeah, staying out of the water, not going back in there again. Now I gotta go all the way back though. Go up the stairs. I'm a baby. I don't want to crawl up the stairs. Oh, this is exhausting. Alright, we made it. Oh no. I gotta go even further. I guess so. Guess we got a pretty view.
The mount is clearly the focal point of this landscape. It almost appears so well placed as to be artificial. I find myself easily slipping into the delusional state of ascribing purpose, deliberate motive to everything here. Was this island formed during the moment of impact? When we were torn loose from our moorings and the seatbelts cut motorway lanes into our chests and shoulders, did it first break surface then?
The hell's he talking about?
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and notice and aid, or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Where go?
They were God-fearing people, those shepherds. There was no love in the relationship. Donnelly tells me that they had one Bible that was passed around in strict rotation. It was stolen by a visiting monk in 1776, 2 years before the island was abandoned altogether. In the interim, I wonder, did they assign chapter and verse to the stones and grasses, marking the geography with a superimposed significance that they could actually walk the Bible and inhabit its contradictions?
Is that a ship? Am I all alone in this island or what? Hello? Anybody here?
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
Wanna go in there? It's kind of scary.
This hermit, this seer, this distant historian of bones and old bread, where did he vanish to? Why, asked the farmers. Why, asked Jacobson. Why bother with your visions at all, if you're just to throw your arms up at the cliff and let it close in behind you and seal you into the belly of the island, a museum shut to all but the most devoted?
Thanks for turning light on. The hell is this? No idea what any of this means. Get out of here. This is not a hole. How did I get it? Can you go back? Hold on. Can this dude not talk or what? I can't even get back. Gotta walk up the river, I guess. This dude is worse at walking than me. What's that? Ah, just a glitch.
I dreamt I stood in the center of the sun, and the solar radiation cooked my heart from the inside. My teeth will curl and my fingernails fall off into my pockets like loose change. If I could stomach, I'd eat, but all I seem capable of is salt water. Were the livestock still here, I could turn feral and gorge. I'm as emaciated as a body on a slab, opened up for a premature source of death. I've rowed to this island in a heart without a bottom, all the bacteria of my gut rising up to sing to me.
What the fuck is he talking about? Hey, chemistry. Can we pick it up so I can learn what these dwarves mean? What's over there? Don't fall. Hey, I remember this place. Can we go up there? Get invisible wall here. Alright then. Is that an urn? Whoa. That was funny and Big Lebowski. Guess we're jumping.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turnoff for Sanford and the welcome brake services, but although I can always see it in my rearview mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
What's with all those ships around here? Where do we go? Wanna check that up? Let's just slide down. Whoa! Anybody here? There's another dead end.
There must be a hole in the bottom of the boat. How else could new hermits
Yeah,
have
there's
arrived?
another boat. Oh, what's this? Dang, can't read it. Did he eat? Not drink. Can't read the first part. And neither did he eat nor drink. Now where does it go? There's something up there? Oh, up there.
I had kidney stones and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic, your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
That sucks.
When I first looked into the shaft, I swear I felt the stones in my stomach shift in recognition.
There's some houses up here. Maybe I'm completely alone. Hello.
I've
Looks
begun my
pretty
ascent on the
abandoned,
green slope of the western side. I've looked deep into the mountain from the shaft and understood that I must go up and then find the way under. I will stash the last vestiges of my civilization in the stone walls and work deeper from there. I'm drawn by the aerial and the cliff edge. There is some form of rebirth waiting for me there. The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either. When the oil lamps ran out, I didn't pick up a torch, but used the moonlight to read by. When I've pulled the last shreds of sense from it, I will throw Donnelly's book from the cliffs and perhaps myself with it. Maybe it will wash back up through the caves and erupt from the spring when the rain comes, making its return to the hermit's cave. Perhaps it will be back on the table when I wake. I think I may have thrown it into the sea several times before.
I can't read that. Let's go with that. Probably more nothing. Is this the right way?
In a footnote, the editor comments that at this point, Donnelly was going insane as syphilis tore through his system like a drunk driver. He's not to be trusted. Many of his claims are unsubstantiated, and although he does paint a colourful picture, much of what he says may have been derived directly from his fever. But I've been here, and I know, as Donnelly did, that this place is always half imagined. Even the rocks and caves will shimmer and blur with the right eyes. They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. His fingernails were raw and bitten to the quick. They found the phosphorescent moss that grows in the caves deep under the nails. Whatever he'd been doing under the island when his strength began to fail is lost. He'd struggled halfway up the cliff again, perhaps in a delirium, perhaps trying to reach the Bothy's fire before curling into a stone and expiring.
Garbage. Another broken ship, of course. This one looks a little older, though.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
Something here. Bunch of books. Keep reading history. What's he been in history? Who put a candle here? I thought I was alone on this island. That seems like a bad idea. No?
Did Jakobsen
alive.
crawl this far? Can I identify the scratches his nails ruined into the rocks? Am I following him cell for cell, inch for inch? Why did he turn back on himself and not carry through to the ascent?
The hell is this? Should we eat those? Who put on a candles here?
It was as if someone had taken the car and shaken it like a cocktail. The glove compartment had been opened and emptied with the ashtrays and the boot. It made for a crumpled museum, a shattered exhibition.
Right. Some chemical stuff. And a tree, it looks like. Some arrows pointing at the, whatever the rest of this is. Man, I haven't been to school yet. I don't don't know what any of this means. Oh, I see. You gotta be kidding me. Come on, I guess we can swim. Thank goodness for these lights, these mushroom lights. Is this the exit? I want out of here. It's not an exit, is it?
In my final dream, I sat at peace with Jakobsen and watched the moon over the Sandford Junction. Goats grazed on the hard shoulder, a world gone to weed and redemption. He showed me his fever scars, and I mine, between each shoulder the nascency of flight.
What do we got over there? I'm thinking the exit's over there, maybe. But let's check here first. Look at the pretty crystals. Nothing. Just pretty crystals. More chemical stuff that I don't understand. baby. Okay then.
I will hold the hand you offered to me, from the summit down to this well, into the dark waters where the small flowers creep for the sun. Headlights are reflected in your retinas, moonlit in the shadow of the crematorium chimney.
Ooh. Next thing, swim in the pool. Behold, Damascus taken. What you talking about? Damascus is taken. At least he's writing words now, but I still don't understand. Away from being a city. And it shall be, something. Oh, green. And we're back to blue again. I prefer green. Whoa. Might be a blue-eyed baby, but I do prefer green. I want out of here. I'm not gonna fall back down there. Of course I am. Hey, it's that car we keep hearing about. And the other car we keep hearing about. Drunk driver, where you at? This guy's dive has to be so wet right now. Thank goodness we can see it. Huh. The hell? Oh, okay, whatever. Anybody here? Get up there. I could get up there.
I sat here and watched two jets carve parallel white lines into the sky. They charted their course, and I followed them for 21 minutes until they turned off near Sanford and were lost. If I were a gull, I would abandon my nest and join them. I would starve my brain of oxygen and suffer delusions of transcendence. I would tear the bottom from my boat and sail across the motorways until I reached this island once again.
Damn it. Then again. I could have made it over there.
Come back.
Okay. Told you fall in again. The hell? You seriously did that, huh? What's up there? Can you get up there? Have to go back? Come on, man, get up! Yes! Good job! Great. More split paint. Just what I was looking for. Hey. Hello. Get down here.
Of fire and soil, I chose fire. It seemed the more contemporary of the options, the more sanitary. I could not bear the thought of the reassembly of such a ruins.
Get down here.
Stitching arm to shoulder and femur
I'm
to
a little
hip,
baby.
charting a line of thread like traffic stilled on a motorway, making it all acceptable for tearful aunts and traumatized uncles flown in specially for the occasion. Reduce to ash, mix with water, make a phosphorescent paint for these rocks and ceilings.
Who split the cats up? Who are you? I'm the gugugagababyman. He's gonna be so gone once we get up there. What we got here? Photo. Is that Esther? Hello, Esther.
There were chemical diagrams on the posters on the walls on the waiting room. It seemed appropriate at the time. Still life abstractions of the processes which had already begun to break down your nerves and your muscles in the next room. I crammed diazepam as I once crammed for chemistry examinations. I am revising my options for a long and happy life.
What does it say? A light from heaven shone around. Him. You talking about the band or me? What airplanes up there? Help me! I think I'm stranded. What the? Oh no! It burns! Who's still over there? Not sure.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 18, 19, 21. Hey, found them all. All of a sudden, a light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. Guess we're going up there then.
I will drag my leg behind me. I will drag it like a crumpled hatchback, tires blown and sparking across the dimming lights of my vision. I'm running out of painkillers and am following the flicker of the moon home. When Paul keeled over dead on the road to Damascus, they restarted his heart with the jump leads from a crumpled hatchback. It took 21 attempts to convince it to wake up.
Hey, still standing there. Wait up! Don't you dare run away. Oh, they got over there. Yeah, come on. I could climb up there. You stay right there.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and casts parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
I told you to wait for me. And as he was proceeding on his journey, can't make it out yet. I can't believe he disappeared on me. When explicitly told him not to. What's that say? And come near. Whatever, man. I'm upset with you now. Run away from me. Told you not to do that.
only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
3 days without sight. Not sure what that's all about.
The stones in my stomach will weigh me down and ensure my descent is true and straight. I will break through the fog of these godforsaken pills and achieve clarity. All my functions are clogged, all my veins are choked. If my leg doesn't rot off before I reach the summit, it will be a miracle. There are 21 connections in the circuit diagram of the anti-lock brakes. There are 21 species of gull inhabiting these islands. It is 21 miles between the Sandford Junction and the turn-off for home. All these things cannot, will not be a coincidence.
Following. Where are we anyway? Looks like Wales or something. And it came to pass that as I made my journey, guess we're not allowed here. Where you go then? Fuck it. Fuck the law. Yada yada yada, something from heaven. The world light around me. Hey, that's me.
A gull perched on a spent bonnet, sideways, whilst the sirens fell through the middle distance and the metal moaned in grief about us. I'm about this night in walking, old bread and gull bones, old Donnelly at the bar gripping his drink, old Esther walking with our children, old Paul as ever, old Paul. He shakes and he shivers and he turns off his lights alone.
awful windy up here. Wasn't me.
Run out of places to climb. I will abandon this body and take to the air.
Don't do it, man!
Dear Esther, I have burned the
Lost
cliffs of
control.
Damascus. I have
Lost
drunk deep of
control.
it. My heart is my leg, and a black line etched on the paper all along this boat without a bottom. You are all the world like a nest to me. Eggs unbroken form like fossils, come together, send small black flowers to the air. From this infection, hope. From this island, flight. From this grief, love.
I told you. Don't do that. Don't do that. No. Why doesn't anybody listen to me? What? What?
Come back.
So, I was a seagull the entire time? Well, that was sad.